Hello, viewers, and welcome home. That's right, the Cutter is going to be taking you home. A unique horror adventure by Benjamin Rivers. This is a new indie horror game. It's supposed to be kind of a throwback game that looks like an NES game, but it's a horror adventure type game. I don't know much about it. The only thing I know is that it's supposed to be relatively short. So I figured since I'm going to play through it anyway, hey, why not invite you guys for the ride, huh? Move left and right and look up. Space to interact. So everything's going to be pretty simple. I'm wearing headphones and this room is as dark as it's going to get in the middle of the day. So let's do this. All I remembered at that point was finding myself alone. Oh my head. Where was I? It was so dark. So we wake up. There was something by my feet. A flashlight. Ah, now we have a flashlight. So look up. And mind you, I cannot move left and right while I'm looking up. That's how much of a throwback it is. It will only handle one thing at once. Looks like there's some blood on the wall or something there. That house. Where was I? There was a body lying on the floor. Who was it? I have a feeling we'll find out. Kitty cat. Looks like there's a downstairs here, but we're going to keep going and finish exploring this floor before we move on. There's a tear in the wall. The desk had a computer and some papers on it and a single drawer. I didn't want to snoop, but did I open the drawer? Yeah, sure, why not? Receipts, pens, and a blurry photo. Looked like a store of some kind. Why did this look so familiar? Oh, man. Blood on the wall. It smelled fresh and sickening. I realized there was blood on my shoes and pants. Oh, man, I had to get out of there. Okay. I noticed that I limped as I moved down the stairs. How did I hurt my leg, I wondered. All I could really recall was coming home, seeing Rachel. I was upset. She looked afraid. I shook my head and tried to clear it. I knew I should head downstairs, try to find a way out. Let's try to find a way out then. The bookshelf was full of books on local history and hunting. Ooh, what was that? An old dining table covered in dirty dishes for 2 people. There were dozens of beer cans and other liquor bottles among the dishes. The smell was turning my stomach. How long had this been here rotting? The man upstairs didn't look like he'd been dead a long time. What is it? I can't even tell what it is. Must be old food or something? Damn you, old pixel style. Oh, there's another downstairs here. A thin gray mouse was stuck in a trap. It looked frantic but exhausted. Do I free it? Yeah, why not? It ran into the hole. Get away, little mouse. Run free. And this, I gotta say, this, I don't know if this is supposed to be a lampshade or here, but it looks like a giant condom like wrapped around a pole or something. Perhaps people were teaching sex ed. A collection of rusty tools. These look like they'd seen a lot of use and were caked in damp smelling dirt. Why weren't they in a shed? I don't know, because people were teaching sex ed with them. I found a picture of a couple. It looked like it'd been moved a lot. There seemed to be a switch behind it. Did I push the switch? Yeah, let's see what happens. It depressed smoothly into the wall. I heard a faraway click somewhere. So we must have opened a secret passage or something? Down we go. I looked like hell. My clothes were dirty and torn. There was mud caked all over my shoes. The front door is blocked by a pile of furniture. I knew I had to find a way out, or another way out. So we're not getting out that way. So to the opposite end. What was that? Another condom lamp there. The door was taped up and locked. I couldn't get through. By the smell, I guessed it led to the kitchen. It's taped up. Those aren't boards. Why would you tape a door? That switch in the wall worked. The door had been unlocked. Oh, so I guess the store would have been locked before if we didn't find that picture frame. The box looked heavy, but there were marks on the floor. It had obviously been moved before. Maybe I had found a way out. I must have moved it, right? Sure. I heaved the box forward and it finally gave. There was a ladder going underground where the box was. A dank smell rose from the passage. Did I climb down the ladder? Looks like the only way out, so let's do it. My leg hurt like hell as I climbed down that ladder. The tunnel below was even darker and the smell wasn't getting any better. But I had to get out of there and find my way home. Footprints in the dirt. Looked like more than one kind. And a lot of traffic. It was an old map of the town. Places all over were marked. The industrial area near the river, various houses, and even the water tower near the old rail station. The guy upstairs must have done this. But what was his interest in the water tower? Newspaper clippings from the local paper. They were all about murders in town over the last few years. Wait, there were photos. Photos of our house. What the hell was that about? Maybe I should have looked around more, tried to find some kind of information. Or maybe get the hell out of there, because it sounds like there's a hermit living down here, like, planning to kill everybody. A work table covered in papers, dirt, and a handgun. I hated guns. I didn't take it, did I? Well, normally, I would say no, but I think we need to take it. I mean, we don't know what kind of dangers are down here. I tucked the small handgun into my pocket. Its weight was somehow reassuring. Oh. You don't like guns, but it was reassuring. Another ladder down. That looks like another ladder down. Crudely made shelves. They looked like they were holding cans of some kind of corrosive. The labels were worn and slick, but I could still see the warnings. That's a ladder down. It looked like a cage. It was small, but there was something coating the bottom, something wet. Something red and wet? It must be jelly, right? Some kind of homemade rack slung together with poorly cut wood and rope. It was caked with old blood. Somebody didn't actually use that, did they? Right, this is old blood, but in the cage it's just something wet. It can't be blood. The desk looked old and was caked with grime. On it was a stack of old faded paper covered with what looked like names. They were scratched out, and illegible notes were written beside them in faded blue ink. I can only make out a few letters. H-E-A spaces I-V spaces. It's a note. None of it made any sense to me. Maybe it's in Pig Latin. There looked to be bones, half dug into the ground, and the remains looked old. Who put them here? We're creating a ton of questions, but no answers. So, let's go down again. Some kind of old boxes. They looked like they were years old. Wait a minute. These boxes had old clothes in them. Clothes I remembered throwing out after Rachel and I moved to town. What the hell were they doing there? Passageway or something up there. And some bats? Ugh. Ah! That's kind of cool. If you shine the light on them, they fly at you. Let's see. I remember noticing the broken ladder. I had to be careful. By walking over it to the store. There's a rope hanging there. I wasn't sure how sturdy it was. Did I take it? Sure. Maybe the rope would make that broken ladder easier to descend. There's skeleton bones on the other side there. I have the rope now. There must have been a use for it around somewhere. There was also a voice that played in the background when I entered that room. I don't know if anybody noticed that. Slightly creepy with the headphones on. The rope I found would have let me climb down the broken ladder safely. Did I climb down? Yes. We must continue. We gotta find out what the hell's happening. I could hear a faint hum, and the smell from before started to get worse. It's usually never a good sign when smells get worse. Something's happening. Generator or something? Bunch of old newspapers, wheat pasted together. A message had been hastily smeared on it. Keep out, danger due to cave-in. It's getting louder. Except when we open the door. Woo! This is the drum and bass room. I can still feel a faint impression of the rope I had slid down as I pressed against the heavy metal door. It was probably for the best that I hadn't jumped. The ache in my leg was bad enough as it was. If I could have, though, I would have run straight out of those awful tunnels. Who would keep such a place? At least, I thought, I had found that old handgun. It seemed to work, and from the smell of it, it had been used already. I kept the gun in my pocket. Seemed a familiar weight there. There's a broken window or something there. An exposed ventilation shaft. Maybe someone crawled through there. But it was so high up that must have been a sore landing. Perhaps sore enough to hurt somebody's leg? There was dirt on the ground. It looked wet, and there was grass smeared within it. Let's go in the door first before we go up. I could hear a faint trickling sound like water. What was that? Oh, there's an exit. A kitchen knife covered in drying blood. Thinking about it made me sick. I didn't even want to touch it. Did I take the knife? You know what? We've been gone against our better judgment this whole time. Let's just take it. I slipped the knife in my boot since I had the gun in my pocket. Did I really need all this? It's possible. Let's check out this next room. That was certainly very, very loud. Seemed like there's a ton of doors over here, so before we continue, I want to check out this ladder before we forget about it. Nothing that way. Disgusting. It was a mess of filthy garbage bags. There were rips and tears in most of the bags. What looked like an old videotape was sticking out. Did I take... Of course, we're taking it all. I wasn't sure what I hoped to discover with the tape, but I took it anyway. Of course we did. So far, this guy's having some kind of memory problems, a lapse of memory of what happened, or he's got like multiple personality disorder, and he films his murders. I'm sure it's something like that. Door's locked. There's a musty smell from inside. This one's not locked, though. I wasn't sure, but I thought it was some kind of regulator. I had no idea how it worked. Best not to touch it, though. Smells preferred. Did I turn it? Yeah, let's do it. Oh, we turned something off. Turn that, it didn't do anything. That one's off. Each valve has a number, and that number is the amount of times it must be turned. Except for 4. So everything's off now. through the exit. Turning those valves must have drained the water that was in this room. There was a ladder I could reach. From all my video game experience, I'm guilty of not exploring of exploring every avenue without moving on just to make sure I get everything, and that seems to be a problem with this game because we're not seeing everything that every room has to offer before we move on. So looked like the water drained out through that grate in the wall. So apparently there was water in here and we just drained it with those valves, which we had no idea. I just knew that we were turning the valves off for some reason. Okay, we'll go through this door first. The door is locked again. See a faint light within. Another door. Let's check it out. Another bloody room. Found another dead body, a sewer worker. By the wounds all over his face and body, I figured he'd been stabbed repeatedly. There was a key ring sticking out of the man's pocket. Did I take it? Of course. We gotta open those locked doors. Thought about the knife I had found with some disgust as I carefully picked the keys from his pocket. I was almost worried he was going to grab me. Too many horror movies that make you think that. There was a security camera in the room. There must have been a way to see what had happened. Maybe the VHS tape I had could have been, or could be useful. Let's go see what's in these locked doors. This one was locked, I believe. I used the key ring to unlock the door. The shelf full of security tapes was strictly organized, though covered in dust. Looked like the tape I found was the one that was missing from the shelf. Oh, we can watch the videotape now. There was a dusty VCR on the security desk. I wondered what was on the VCR. Yeah, we're gonna play this tape. Jesus, the video showed a man right there in the sewers being attacked. The tape looked fuzzy and stretched, like somebody had tampered with it. It looked like there could have been two men. And it surprised me. But let us go on. I couldn't stand to watch that video again. Then we shan't. The safety poster had definitely seen better days. How old was that facility? Pretty damn old, I would say. Okay, let's go back up because I think there was a locked door up here. Is it this one? No, that was a valve room. This one. A collection of stale liquor bottles covered the floor. The wall was littered with dozens of old faded papers. Whoever did this was obsessed with some local murders. According to some of the clippings, bodies had been found in ravines in the forest, and in one case, dumped in the back of an abandoned truck. I couldn't be sure, but I thought some of these same articles had also been pasted up back in those tunnels. And the newspaper says killer on it if you have trouble reading it. The faded receipt was half trampled on the floor. It was from the local train station. It was for 2 tickets. I didn't know what use it could be, but did I keep the receipt? Of course. Neatly folded the soiled receipt and slipped it into my front pocket. I think that was the only locked door, so... Whew. Not gonna lie, with the headphones on, that really made me jump. Okay. Got the ladder. It's the other end of the ventilation shaft. Whoever used it could have gotten past that flooded room with this. Up we go. My sore leg and the extra weight I was carrying made climbing the ladder difficult. Would I need that gun or that knife before the end? I thought of that videotape still gave me chills. Who was it that didn't want to be seen? Was it the same person that hid all those newspaper clippings away in that locked room? Suddenly, the awful smell of that sewer gave way to the dark scent of pine trees. Oh, now we're outside. Scary yellow eyes that appeared back there. There they are. And that's back down. Okay, so let's move along here. To another door. There's a ladder. An old ladder leading up to an ancient water tower. The ladder needed to be extended so I can climb it. Did I extend the ladder? Of course. Popped the latch and brought the ladder down. What does that say? Restroom? Flooploom? No idea. The rusty door is locked tight with an old padlock. The faded sign on the door warned about some kind of train yard. Must have referred to the town's only train station. Didn't look like I'd be able to get through there at all. And there's another door here. With a creepy creaking door. This must have been the entrance to the forest that was mentioned on that map I had seen. Whoever was poking around in those tunnels underneath that man's house had scribbled notes on this place, but I couldn't make them out. Here, the sign pointed out various campsites and walking paths within the woods. It mentioned a river and maybe a washroom, but the rest was too faded to see clearly. Oh, this is a pathway into the forest, is it? Well, I want to go explore on top of that water tower before we move on too far. Up we go. More bats. And another ladder leading up. We're now at the very top of the water tower. Those look like claw marks or something. In a patch of smeared dirt and grass, there was a beat-up old wallet. I thought it was mine. Did I take it? Yes. I slid the filthy wallet into my back pocket. I noticed it didn't contain any kind of gun permit. In fact, it didn't contain any cards or ID of any kind. I thought I should recover my credit card and driver's license at least. From the railing, I could see over the woods and down to the entrance to the sewers. Had I come through there before? If I did, someone definitely could have seen me. But we probably took care of that by... went back up accidentally. Probably took care of that by maybe, I don't know, killing them? There's the way through the forest. There's another way through the forest, and that's it. Alright, so we'll check out the first one. And nothing there. Trampled into the dirt and grass was a plastic card of some kind. I brushed it off and was surprised to see it was my credit card. I wasn't sure if it was still unusable, but it was mine. Did I take my credit card? Of course, it's yours. Pocketed the credit card. Hopefully I could find my driver's license too. Through the fence, I could see a dilapidated outbuilding. I wondered if I could find my way around. Let's go through this part first. Something's happening in the grass. There was a fire pit there. It was still a bit warm, and a few embers still burned at the bottom. 2 folding camping chairs were on the ground. One was knocked over. There were a couple cans of beer spilled on the ground. A cheap dome tent slept 2 people. I shone my flashlight inside. I could see some bedrolls, 2 backpacks, and a cooler. Somebody was doing some camping. Oh, there's a ton of ways to go here. Get totally lost in this forest. There were some personal effects shoved back into the rock. Wait, there was a notebook there too. Did I read it? Of course we read it. Inside the cheap, Dollar store notebook was page after worn page of names and lists. None of it made much sense. The newest page contained several names: Heather, Olivia, Ashley, Cheryl, Iris, Daphne, Holly, Rose, Rachel. Rachel? Her name was last on the list and had a mark beside it in blue ink. The names Daphne and Olivia had been crossed out in the same blue ink. Cheryl, Heather, and Rose had also been crossed out, but these marks looked older and more faded. Okay, we did that. Okay, that must be the one we came through. So we'll go back. Let's try this one. Here's some graffiti on this building. No, 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 no. Don't. Can't tell what it says. Don't something cook? Don't look. The grimy sink had a small patch in it that looked almost clean. A musty wooden plank propped up the stall door. It didn't really seem useful. Did I bother to take it? Sure. Wasn't sure why, but I took the plank. We took the plank because everything's got to come into play at some point, right? Okay, so that was the fire pit. Let's go through here. This is back to the start, yeah. It's very maze-like. Keep feeling like there's got to be like one more that we might have missed. Maybe we did not. The sign was the same as the first one I had seen. This must have been the exit to the other side of the woods. I had finally found the exit. Once I left, I knew I never wanted to return there. Well, before we get back here, we gotta go check out that one warehouse area that we found. This one? Nope, that's the notebook. Here we go. Or no, okay. So we can't go through that area. Okay. That was not the way out. So, notepad. And then this one. Here we go. Okay, let's get out of here. Through the dense trees, I could finally start to see some light. Must have been at the edge of the forest, though I wasn't sure where the path ahead of me led. I could almost feel the cryptic notebook in my pocket as I tried to think about what it could mean. And where were the campers who had abandoned their site? Would I meet them too? Though the path ahead of me was less dense, I still felt guarded and wary. Who knew what was ahead? I have a feeling we're about to find out. As I stepped through the gate, I suddenly recognized the auto parts factory, where I had worked as a machinist for all those years. The plant had closed. Almost 3 years ago now, times were better then. I thought I could hear a faint rustling behind me. Maybe it was just the wind. Or it could be the killer. Alright, did we do the door or the opening in the fence? Let's do the door first. Well, that's not reassuring. One of the lockers hung open. Its contents were tossed around like someone had been looking for something. There was a large power box with 5 lights on it. Cables burst out of the box, snaking off to other parts of the factory. The metal was starting to wear and cobwebs had collected on the corners. The box wasn't receiving power. Door was locked shut. A sign was pasted on the front that said, "Danger! Closed for repairs." I didn't think it could be open. This door was also locked. It seemed to be connected to the power box beside it. So we gotta get that box running then. Every part of this plant smelled old and rotted. I noticed the old bulletin board on the wall. The board contained yellowed clippings of newspaper cartoons and notices. There were notes too, and from the guys... there were notes to and from the guys that worked there. One of them was to Norman, who was one of the older guys on the line. "Back in my day, when I was on the line, we used to actually have to work for a living." A power panel looked like it was shut off. Yeah, let's see it. "Back in my day, we did car parts. We weren't doing all these pocket vagina things that come down the conveyor belts nowadays that your kids are buying." The open locker was stuffed with dirty work clothes and old boots. There was a photo of a woman taped to the inside, but it was scratched out, and the face was unrecognizable. "That's right, we weren't making dildos." Another power panel looked like it was shut off. Did I push the switch? Yeah. That one's on. So we gotta flip this one again. Aha. That means there has to be one more. It was shut tight. There was a rusty looking card slot on the side. There must be like an ID card to use there then, right? So in closing, I'm just saying that we should really stop making all of these weird items and get back to making what's really important: car parts. Our old brake table, the layer of dust and grime, only made seeing this sting more. Up we go. The door had been hastily boarded up. This was Norman's locker. The door was dented like someone had punched it. I don't remember him doing that when we worked there. Yeah. Okay, that one's on now. So that's good. A utility shelf crammed with mismatched tools and items. There was a claw hammer on the shelf. Did I take it? Yeah. As I took the hammer, I noticed it wasn't as dusty as the rest of the tools on the shelf. The locker was a complete mess. Hidden at the bottom, though, was a magnetic card. Did I take it? Yes, we need that. Slip the key card in my pocket. Yes. Not on, huh? Now it's on. Come on, power panel. There we go. Oh, there's some noise going. We turned whatever it was on. Maybe it's the conveyor belt making car parts. Okay, Norman. I used the hammer, the old... Oh, you know what? I didn't think about it, but we can probably go all the way back to the house and open up that taped door with the knife. Be a long trek. This was my locker. There in the factory, it stank of booze. There was a picture of Rachel on the inside. It looked like it had been torn up. I thought I had taken that picture home when the factory closed. The floor was littered with old liquor bottles. I wondered if that man in the house had something to do with this. Sure had a lot of alcohol at this place. Yes, he did. Old drunken factory worker. Maybe that was Norman, too. Just because I have a little nip on the line every once in a while doesn't make me a bad guy. I always get my job done. No, that was locked. Okay, so those are all on, which is great. The door was unlocked. Did I go through? Hell yeah, we're going through. We need to find out some stuff. A rack of flashlights hung on the wall. One of them was missing. Oh. Could it be the one in my hand? My head ached terribly as I closed the door behind me. I saw the wooden path beyond the light of the factory. Still, it was better than that stuffy, foul-smelling room I had found. Who would have used the old locker room? Someone was obviously going up there, but it didn't make any sense. If I could reach town from there, maybe I could find Norman's store. It was closed to one of the main roads. Maybe he could help. Does Norman really want to help us, though? Before we go through this, though... Oh, it locked itself behind me. Oh, we can't go back. I figured we could go through that hole that was in the fence before we went to the factory. A pickup had smashed into the guardrail and stood silent. Was this the truck that those newspaper clippings mentioned? Was there really a body found here? It didn't look like a truck at first, but I can see it now. Driver's side window, back window. Alright, I'll allow it. Through the fence. Nothing that way. Another door. The garbage bin was a disgusting mess of rotten food and slick black bags. I saw a thin greenish corner poking out from one of the bags. It was my driver's license. It looked damaged. Did I take it back? Of course. We start driving. We gotta prove we're allowed to. I cleaned the card off as best I could. It looked pretty beat up. I was amazed to have found my credit card, and now this. I tucked the card into my wallet next to my credit card. Sounded like it was going to start raining again. Well, we better get indoors then. I had entered Norman's place. Welcome! This was the back of the store that he ran. It was oddly quiet except for the faint sound of a television. Entrance to the front of the store was locked. From the inside! Looked like I couldn't just prop it open. I needed a key. There was a bit of blood on the keyhole. Very sloppy with the blood. Hearing creaks and such. What was this? It looked like a pull chain hanging from the ceiling. I wondered where it led. Did I pull the chain? Yeah, of course. Gave the chain a single tug and a simple folding ladder to the attic popped down. Well, I'm not going in the attic just yet. The TV still flickered some indecipherable channel. Oop, I couldn't make out what it was on the screen, but that glow just gave me the chills. Jesus, I couldn't believe what I was seeing. Norman, my coworker, and one of the few friends I had in this town, lay dead beside his armchair. His face and shirt were covered in blood. It looked like he'd been shot, trying to get up. His eyes were still wide with shock. Norman, you deserve better than this. Did I close his eyes? Yeah. I wasn't sure if wanted to give him peace or if I just couldn't stand to think anymore about what was going on. Quickly, I closed Norman's eyes. I guess this was Norman's kitchen table. He kept it clean enough, but there were water rings from 2 cups still there in the wood. The kitchen trash bin smelled fresh. I didn't dig through that mess. Yeah, why not? Found a hairpin amongst the rotting food and trash and pocketed it, which we will use as a faux key. Oh, Norman. If only you were here to tell us about the old days of the conveyor belts and what they contained. If only! Despite the shock of already finding Norman in that state, seeing this turned my stomach just as much. It was one of Rachel's old fall coats. What was it doing there? Was she okay? The plot thickens. Inside the cabinet was a small but impressive collection of hunting rifles, shotguns, and even a few items I didn't think were legal here. One of the slots on the rack was empty. The gun I had found seemed to match the others there. If the handgun was Norman's, what the hell was he doing with it? The gun would fit there. Did I place it back in the cabinet? Yep. Carefully pushed the piece back in place. Felt a great burden lifted. Good. Can we take it back? Norman, what were you doing with all these? Nope. So that is the place for the gun. To the attic. There was a large cardboard box that hadn't been sealed. Did I open it? Of course we opened it. Opened up the old cardboard box and wasn't entirely surprised by what I saw. There were more of Rachel's things, more of my wife's clothes. Photos, shoes, even that old radio I gave her. Why, Rachel? What were you doing here with Norman? Someone is having regressed memories about like a divorce or something. Norman's trying to watch reruns of Three's Companies, and I show up and take him out. I used the hairpin to pick the lock. The hairpin snapped in half, so I threw it away. Of course. The general store was small, but it was clean. It had the usual things: postcards, snacks, magazines, canned goods. Never went there much. Rachel usually stopped by after work if we needed anything. The register was mostly empty. A fat stack of travel magazines sat beside it. Was somebody trying to leave town? The icebox seemed to be unplugged. Must have been off for a while. Most of its contents were half melted. There were various postcards from the area, especially from the tourist traps. One of the postcards showed an old black and white photo of the water tower. It looked to be in much better shape then. It'd been weeks since I'd last seen Norman, and finding him that way still left me cold. Thinking of him, slumped against that chair, only cemented my reassurance in getting rid of that gun. It looked like someone had taken that piece from his store, but why was it in those tunnels? As I stepped outside, I recalled that dusty old box of clothes in Norman's attic. Felt like I had only discovered more questions, no answers, but I was close to home. It was time to find out the truth. I agree, it is time to find out the truth. It's locked and it's not the right gate. The gate was locked tight. This wasn't my house anyway. This one is, though. The door only led me back. I had to find my house. The neighborhood's local post box. A letter was sticking out, as if someone hadn't pushed it all the way in. I knew it wasn't right, but yeah, let's check it out. The envelope was addressed to Norman. There was no return address, but the handwriting looked familiar. I took a deep breath and tore open the package. The letter read, "Norman, I'm sending this to you in a letter because I'm afraid to tell you this in person. What we did, well, it was wrong. My husband isn't an easy man to be with, but he is my husband and your friend. I need some time to sort this out away from you both. I'm going away for a while. I'm going to tell him, Norman. So don't you think you can hold that against me? Going to tell him and get past this. Maybe we'll work it out. I'm not sure I even want to, but he deserves at least that much. Goodbye." So she ran off. I killed Norman and had like a crazy basement and tunnel area there where I was planning things. I had entered our backyard. The rain gave me a terrible sense of foreboding and chilled me through my clothes. I was expectant but also afraid. Never did fix this gate. It was stuck. I needed to press on. There was no turning back at that point. Alright. I held my breath as I approached our back door. I was terrified to step inside. It all leads to this. The house was painfully quiet. The only sound was my own breathing, ragged and strained. I flicked the light switch by the door. The power was off. Looks like we're in the kitchen anyway. The table was clean and hadn't been used any time recently. The door to the basement, it was locked. Where had I put the damn key? There was a small pile of mail on the floor in front of the mail slot. How long had I been away? Why hadn't Rachel picked this up? Most of the contents were bills. There was a credit card bill there. Did I open it? Sure. I ripped the bill open and read it. To my surprise, it said something about canceling my credit card due to non-payment. What the hell? The front door was locked from the inside. I couldn't go out, though. I needed to see if Rachel was here. Let's go find Rachel. Though I'm pretty sure we're not going to find her, and if we do, it's not going to be pretty. Door was stuck shut. There was an old-fashioned keyhole underneath the handle. Time to find the skeleton key. An old photo of Rachel and I stared back at me, reminding me of better times. It didn't make me feel terribly comfortable. Did I keep it anyway? Yep. I replaced the photo in my wallet, feeling like I had got part of my life back. Still, the image made me uneasy. Why did I throw it away in the first place? Our television. I had purchased it before I knew I was going to lose my job. I felt pretty guilty about it afterward, but by then it was too late. Okay. Up we go. Our hallway mirror had been smashed. Its pieces scattered around the floor. Our sink, which needed to be replaced, one of the taps always stuck, but I hadn't got around to fixing it yet. We were lucky enough to get a house with one of those wonderful old claw-footed bathtubs. Cool. Continue on this way. My laptop had been left on and only had a tiny bit of power left. On the screen was a website about the old water tower. Why not thecutUp.net? How about that? Little plug for everybody there. There was a key in the top drawer of my desk. Did I take it? Sure. I pocketed the key. But before we head to the locked door, we'll check out this last room here. The books there were half mine, half Rachel's. Hey, now that I looked more closely, it looked like that man in that house had some of the same books as I did. My wife's, Rachel's suitcase was sitting on the bed. It was closed, but I had a feeling what was in it. Did I open it? Sure. Rachel's suitcase contained clothes, toiletries, and a train ticket. Is this what you were going to do with Norman? No, she was leaving. She was leaving you both, buddy. Apparently you had become a jerk. And she had an affair with Norman and was running away. The door was stocked shut. There was an old-fashioned handle. Right, didn't I get the key? Thought I had a key. Head down again, see what else we can find, if anything. It's a front door. Unlock the basement door. Here we go. There were old Christmas decorations in the box. Okay. The garbage bags were stuffed with old paint cans and supplies. There was a dirty old key here. Of course, we need that key to get upstairs. Took the small key and tried to remember what it unlocked. Oh, I think we know. There were old clothes, tools, and other things that we obviously hadn't thrown out yet. And that's it in the basement. Alright. The grimy key I had found in the basement unlocked the door. It looked like the room had been tossed around. The furniture was a mess. Did somebody break in here? There was an old crowbar on the floor. Did I need to take... You know what? Let's leave the crowbar for right now. I left it right where it was. I needed more time to think. Oh, that's all we got. Okay, then we'll pick it up. Lifted the heavy crowbar. I appreciated its weight. Well, the room is definitely tossed around, but where are we supposed to use the crowbar at? Okay, there's the TV. Okay, over here's the books and her stuff. Apparently you were such a monster. Remembered owning it, but not... Okay. This is the bathroom, right? At times, but it was part of what made that house home. Yeah, I was running for a while. Okay, we've seen all this. But where am I supposed to use the crowbar at? Let's go back to that. Oh, okay. Now I found it. Down in the basement, this secret little place I wouldn't have even thought to look. The crowbar I found would have been strong enough to bust through that cheap wall. Did I break through it? Yeah. Let's do it. The heave, I swung the crowbar at the wall. I smashed a hole large enough to step through. And we stepped through. As I stepped through the broken wall, my breath caught in my throat. This was it. Was Rachel down there? Was she okay? Say, don't look. A filthy looking pile of rags had been dumped in the corner. The stench of them was awful and made my eyes water. I was terrified to even touch the pile to see what lay within, but I knew I had to. I had come this far. After all this searching, after all I'd seen, when I looked within the rags, did I finally find my Rachel? I said no. The rags were wet, matted, covered in dirt and grime, but inside that tattered mess was no sign of my beloved wife. Rachel wasn't there. I looked around in confusion, trying to figure out what to do next. If she wasn't there, where was she? What I had been searching for this entire time. I remembered the look on Rachel's face when I came home, didn't I? Then the awful realization hit me right in the gut. I had been looking at this the wrong way, hadn't I? This is what you've been trying to tell me all along, isn't it? I couldn't find Rachel there. I won't find her anywhere else because she was never there at all, was she? I stumbled back upstairs, the pain in my leg just a dull ache now, and sat down in my bedroom. My mind was spinning, and the ache I felt before was near, crippling. Finally, I could no longer fight the exhaustion, and as I tried to grab hold of something that would make sense of all this, I must have drifted off. And we awake. I guess these books were all actually mine then. It was my wallet with its contents intact. Either I dropped that stuff or someone else did. Maybe I was sleepwalking again, or maybe somebody stole it from me. Norman's store, that forest, the water tower, was it all... Was I at all those places before? I thought we were. I didn't see how it could have happened any other way. Must have been the one to lose my wallet and its contents. But what does that mean? Okay, the mirror's still broken. We should probably... Oh, this room looks okay. Laptop had finally run out of power. Bathroom. Dirty faded glass. I look nothing more than a faint shadow. Okay, we've seen the tub enough. We get it, it's a tub. Okay. Check out the room where shit went down. My old office safe sat on the floor. I used it to keep tax records and other important documents. I used the digital passcode lock. Did I try to open it? Sure. Safe used in 8-digit code. What was that damn code again? I don't know. Let's try the... No, that wasn't it. Damn, couldn't remember. We're gonna have to find it. Those poor girls that I found in that dead forest. I wondered what happened to the other names on that list, or the ones scratched out on the desk in those wet tunnels. Well, hopefully we find out here shortly. I had that old TV for so long, I don't know if I could ever replace it. Oh, really interesting. So this whole thing was about replacing the television and you going back and forth in your head whether you're going to do it or not. Pile of mail on the floor I now saw was addressed to me. Bills, credit card offers, a letter from the bank, they were all addressed to me. Okay. Let's go straight to the basement. I couldn't go back now, not until I had gone over everything. I needed to make sure I was perfectly clear. Okay. So where didn't I check? Basement, kitchen, bills, this front door. Oh, back up we go. I gotta find a way to open that safe. But I have no idea where the code's gonna be at. That's a TV room, I guess. This is where we started. My head was pounding. Okay. Well, the one thing we didn't check up here was the tub, which I didn't think we needed to. I used to tell myself that Rachel was the one who wanted to keep the tub, but apparently I got really pissed at her when she decided she did not want the creepy claw tub anymore. It was the key card I found at the bottom of that factory locker. Never did bother to use it. Someone had been going through those lockers and poking around the plant. Still, it didn't quite add up. Was I the one who had been going back to the factory? Yeah. It looked that way, didn't it? That locker room. I had given up drinking, but... Go down. Perhaps we're ready to go back into the basement. I guess I was ready to face the truth now. That's what you said last time. Let's face some actual truth here, huh? It was the knife I had found in the sewers. I left it here because I didn't want it near me anymore. Was all of this my fault? Was I responsible for Rachel's death? If I was guilty, I could take this to a warm, safe place and do something about it. Yeah, let's grab that knife back. I took the knife and kept it firmly in my hand. The wall was cracked and pitted. I was told by an inspector the basement had been partially filled in before I bought the house. By the look of that wall, I was going to need to fix the foundation. But there's nothing we can do with it yet. It's all musty and old down there. Okay. So we got the knife. We did not find any truths, but now we can go into the kitchen. How many breakfasts had I eaten there? Completely alone. The door. There was no reason to return to the backyard anyway. Well, that's great, but what am I supposed to do? What will the knife be good for? Hadn't collected the mail in a week. That was it. With Rachel gone, I couldn't stand to be in that house a moment longer. Did I leave and say goodbye to that nightmare forever? Yes. Let's get out of here. Since I had arrived in town, things had been difficult. Working in the plant, though, had been good for me. It kept me in line, gave me something to do, and helped me get away from my past. When the factory closed, everything changed. I guess that was when I had started sleepwalking, disappearing for hours at a time. Drinking was probably just a way to deal with that. It was almost as if I was trying to beat my brain at its own game. Things stopped making sense after some time. After that, and my memories of what happened are still in flux. I suppose that was when Rachel came along. This night had been the worst of my entire life. Would it even be possible to bounce back from everything that had happened, everything I'd seen? You know, in a way, I almost wish I hadn't even woken up tonight. It would have spared me a lot of pain. For starters, the man I had found in that old place who had killed him, and why was I even there? So, it was probably obvious for us both now that I was the one going through those lockers and making a mess of the old factory, but what the hell was I doing there? I suppose I could have just been another episode, but I didn't understand. Was it really me drinking in that boarded room? What had I become? What more is there that you're not telling me? I had to catch my breath to take it all in. At each point until the factory, things had only gotten worse, but then I had seen something I wouldn't have expected when I went to Norman's store. That's when my perspective on all this really started to change. Norman was dead, but I had no idea what had happened to him or what that box of clothes I had found in his attic meant. Did he know? But as painful as all of that was, oh God, I couldn't bear to think about it again. After all I had done and seen, finally coming home was supposed to be the end to this entire ordeal. God help me, though it was only the beginning. As the door swung open, I could smell damp grass and the closeness of the air. After everything, it felt like I had more questions than answers. It made me see the truth, I'll give you that, but now I was completely lost. You took away the one thing that had kept me going. I was sure word would get out, and soon enough the police would come looking for me. And what then? Would you be there to show me the way? What will I do then? Ooh, that was wordy. And that's the end. Huh. Well, it was definitely interesting. I kind of wish it ended differently. I mean, were there other steps I could have taken? Like, should I have said that that was actually Rachel's body? I thought by hitting no that maybe he would have showed us like, oh, this was all a dream and blah blah blah. So maybe by hitting yes we would have gotten a different ending. Maybe there was a way to open up that safe. There was something earlier we could have found that would have opened that and gave us more info. I'm not really sure. But that was a playthrough through this, and I thought the game was decent, interesting, and home's dedicated to my wife Nancy. Watch her back. Yeah. I don't know if I'd be saying that in a public forum. But yeah, anyway, it was decent, interesting. I guess that's all I can really say about it. I'm going to look up some info and find out some other things about it and see if, with other choices, if that's has any kind of change on the way the ending is going to happen. So share your story at homehorror.com/whathappened. I'll be reading some of that, and I will report about it after this. Thanks for watching.